I'm in something mode.
You're in win now mode. That was to Ryan, not you. I got to get started now. Welcome to Beerfield, my alcoholics. I am your host at Beerfield Hop with 2 P's. As always, joined by at Beerfield Theory, at Ryan Miner _FFB. Gentlemen, I use that term very loosely.
That was very loose.
How are we doing?
Last one, oh my God, I forgot my mic was off. Someone from the disc I lost when I was down in Cape. That was who was calling me.
Nice. You just like keep
3 hours away. I'm going to be like, you can just keep
You
it at
just
this point.
keep
I mean, what
it,
else am I going to do?
Yeah. What'd you lose?
My streamline, which is 9.5 -2.1.
Gotcha. I was on a heater when I played with you guys, but I found a Firebird. What was it?
You found like 3
I
discs.
found
It was
2
nuts.
just out in the open. It was a ESP Heat and a Thunderbird, I think. And I already carry 2 Thunderbirds, including in that plastic. And I have a Z-Line Heat, so I didn't really need an ESP one because I don't throw that disc for a whole heck of a lot. So
No.
gave those away, but still pretty cool. Somebody did find my Heat, by the way. I told you that, I think.
I think so, yes.
So had thrown that one into a pond, and somebody apparently fished it out.
Nice.
Like 2 days after I lost it, which is really rare.
Yeah, I don't know. I think when I lost my streamline, it was like embedded in a bunch of webs. And I was just like, fuck this. Like I'm drenched in sweat. It's 90 degrees.
Didn't want to go find it.
I was like, I am not gonna go this. I'm not searching this hard for this one disc. And then I went and bought a Lucid Plastic River because I really want
Dude, I love
a
rivers.
high glide. I really want a high glide a fairway driver. I'm like, well,
That's why I bought the Crave. But if that thing doesn't break in a little nicer for me, I'll be getting a river. Anyway, we are going to talk the latest from around training camp. We are going to go into some questions from around the internet, get into some either ors, going to talk about some things that I perceived as bad takes. I think you guys will too, but I really want to get into why it's a bad take. Because on the surface, it might seem fine, but why we think they're bad takes, and also keep in mind that just because we think it's a bad take doesn't necessarily mean it's going to end up being a bad take. Nobody knows dick about shit this time of the year, but
no one knows
we all
dick
like
about shit.
we all like to pretend we do. So we're going to drink some beer and we're going to have a good time. Before we do that, make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bell, I think is what the kids say nowadays, on YouTube. Follow on Spotify. Leave a review. We may have had some in the last 3 years. I don't know. We don't really check. I haven't read them. So leave the 3-star review we deserve, please.
3-star review.
Most people ask for 5 stars, but I'm shooting for mediocrity. So make sure you rate that accordingly. And without further ado, we're drinking some beer. Oh, I gave our Twitter handle. Beerfield. This is the Twitter handle. Beerfield Podcast, wherever you get your audio streams, which is most likely where you're listening to this anyway.
What's fueling Beerfield?
Dan, you want to start?
Yeah. All right. So I picked this bottle up when I was down in Cape. I was telling Hopper about this because I was excited when I got a chance to get it. So I was doing a tap takeover at one of the sports bars in Cape, Missouri, and they did their own handpick, and they did a handpicked Jefferson Reserve aged in Pritchett Hills Cabernet cast barrels, or finished. It's their single barrel. I had a little small sample of it when I was at the bar last week, so I will give my thoughts on this a little bit later.
Ryan?
I have Fear Movie Lions by Stone Brewery. And what better way to do a Lions beer to bring in Hard Knocks? It's a hazy double IPA. Comes in at 8.5%. So I'll let you know how it is.
It's my favorite time of the year, guys. They're starting to hit shelves.
Too soon.
It is not too soon. They're starting to hit shelves. It is the season. I'm drinking the granddaddy of them all. I have a Paulaner Oktoberfest. This is a Marzen style. So, couple things to keep in mind with Oktoberfest. Really, there's two beers that operate under the guise of Oktoberfest. There's Fest beers. There's Marzens. I believe, if I remember, I'm not going to look it up. I'm just going to go off memory. That the Marzen is the breadier, toastier, maltier of the two. The Fest beer is designed to be lighter, more drinkable, kind of tone down those flavors, be a little bit more crushable. So Marzen's the more flavor of the two.
Ding, ding.
This is the Marzen style. Fest beer, a little bit more crushable. Another thing that I want to note about this when you guys drink these, or really as the fall comes around, any maltier beer, we're raised in our drinking age early to get your beer in a frosty mug or piping ice cold, and that actually kills a lot of your flavors, especially with malty German beers. You want to drink them upwards of 40 degrees, really around the 45 degree mark. Even lagers, what that's going to do is that's going to bring those malty notes out. When they're cold, those get toned down, especially if you're drinking a higher proof beer like a Doppelbock, that's going to make it more alcoholic. It's going to taste a little bit hotter. You want those to warm up and let that malt character come out to get the full idea of the beer. You do not want to drink those ice cold like it's an IPA. So just something to keep in mind. That being said, this one was about 2 hours ago, so it's probably right in the sweet spot of that high 40s. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into some news from around camp, shall we?
Let's
You
do
shall.
it.
All right, we're going to start off with the drop because I feel like it needs a transition.
News.
All right. Cliff Kingsbury continues to be impressed with Eno Benjamin. This is where we do a little bit of hype. He's lining up in the slot, using him all over the place. We know James Conner does not demand a full workload. This is the third week in a row that there's been some serious, Benjamin hype. Are we buying in to, Benjamin now and kind of where we would have like Nyheim Hines in years past in a pass catching role that's also going to get some run is the primary back that spells James Conner?
Yes.
For sure. I'm buying the hype on this one. From a well-known source that I know, he says that he is the new Chase Edmonds of this offense right now.
I've also seen that. So I think that, Benjamin, there's a lot of hype that comes out, and then you'll see another report that the hype's like, well, they're running with the second teamers. They're running with the third teamers. They're doing it against the third team defense. He looks explosive, but he's playing against third stringers. Benjamin, he's been doing it with the first team. He's been rotating it with the first team. Yeah, and it's been nothing but good reports about him now from multiple sources. That is when you buy the hype on a player. So,
if you're in drafts right now, I would definitely take him with one of the last picks, and then in Dynasty, if he's on your waiver wire, go grab him and stash him for now.
I guess I should have pulled up the ADP. Huh?
He is 1506.
There you
He's
go, Dan.
basically free.
Basically free.
Yeah, take it.
So expect that to come up, but even if he went into the high double-digit rounds, I'm still okay with that.
I mean, I don't expect it to go up much more than
Where it's
the
at.
12th or 13th. I mean, maybe once we get some more training camp hype and we see some actual preseason games and we see who he runs with, then yeah. But everyone should have always been in on one of these other backups behind James Conner. You just take your shots in the dark and they're all free, which is the best part. And then you go about it that way.
Indeed. All right, Texans acquired Adam Shaheen at a 2023 7th-round pick for a 2023 6th-round pick. Brevin Jordan, we've talked about him on this show as one of those late-round sleeper tight ends. It has the potential to finish as a mid-tight end one on a Houston offense that figures to be just okay. The defense is going to be bad. They're in need of pass catchers. Tight ends did have a pretty decent role in Lovie Smith's Bears teams. Does Adam Shaheen pour any water on this, or is this just a depth grab?
I think it's more of a depth grab just because it's a 6th-round pick. You're not trading anything for it, so it's
No,
like a nothing. You're not losing anything. You're not gaining anything.
I'm with you.
Sorry, Dan. That's the second time, maybe third time I've interrupted you now.
It's all payback for all the times I've done the same. I mean, it's the same. I mean, it is the right answer. I mean, I don't think anyone should really care about Adam Shaheen at this point. And if Brevin Jordan still can't break out with Adam Shaheen, then we have nothing to care about.
Yes. Rams signed Sean McVay to a currently undisclosed contract extension. So, deserved. Good for them.
Yeah.
Should put the rumors of him going to TV or, like, dude, this is a coach that's still in his 30s. Like, and you're predicting retirement or going to TV when he's on the top of his game. He ain't doing it.
He's not LeBron yet.
No.
He's not going to Ray Lewis this.
No.
And I read that the GM's also not far behind getting his extension, too.
They're waiting till Les Snead gets it to officially announce it. So,
yeah.
As much as I hate the owner, Snead's done a good job here since they've gone to LA building a perennial championship contender. They've done it without a lot of draft capital. They've done it through trades. They've managed to pay their guys and manage the cap well. So Snead's done a good job, as has McVay. The Athletics, Mark Caboli, sorry if I mispronounced that. Mark, I'm sure you're listening, writes that the Steelers would like to lighten Najee Harris's workload in some capacity. Now, more specifically, running back coach Eddie Faulkner has said that he wants Harris to see 7 fewer snaps a game. That's basically one series.
7.
Yeah.
Like specifically 7 snaps.
It's a really oddly specific number, I think. The way I'm translating that is like 1 fewer series a game. You're not worried.
It might be
about
2
this.
for this offense for how many 3 and outs they might have.
It's true. Basically, what you need to take away from this, though, is this is why context is important. You see that, you might want to fade Najee, and then you see that it's 7 snaps a game. And when you have a primary back like that, that's not 7 touches; it is 7 snaps. So it's probably
It's not like they have
probably
any
2 to 3
actual.
touches.
They don't have any other competitive backups.
No,
I mean, reports out of Pittsburgh's been pretty bad amongst the offense as a whole, especially the quarterbacks. But
sure.
it's I'm not super high on Najee for this year in redraft because of it. But
I'm not either.
it's
Well,
Yeah, same here.
I don't
not
wanna
because of
say-
that one. No, it's just because I don't trust the offense this
I don't
year.
want to say that I'm not. I'm going to say that I don't have him elite tier. He still gets bell cow workload. He gets pass catching ability, even if he's not efficient. I still like Najee in kind of that back end of the first, early second, where we've seen guys like Nick Chubb go in years past. Just because of the volume and the workload I think he gets and the passing work I think he gets. But I'm with it. You don't need to take him in as a top 5 pick or anything.
Yeah, right now Barbie 5-107.
Yeah, it's about half a round too high for me.
Yeah.
All right, Dallas signed kicker Brett Maher to a 1-year deal. Just worth noting that Brett Maher's the kicker in Dallas because in your redraft leagues, kickers matter. Kickers matter in some dynasty leagues too, and Dallas still figures to score points.
I know in one league where it matters.
Me too.
Yeah, he got a
I
big
know 2
extension.
leagues, 3 leagues.
Mhm.
Good for him.
Dan's kicker.
That's right.
What's that?
Dan's kicker got an extension, too.
He did. We can just skip to that. Justin Tucker, 4-year deal worth $24 million. So
It's
Extension for the
lights. He
GOAT.
deserves more.
extension for the GOAT. Keep him around for a little bit. Still the best kicker in the league, and that's kicker talk. Kansas City has been lining Juju Smith-Schuster up all over the formation, and he states that he is playing the position he always wanted to play while he was in Pittsburgh. Getting moved around, getting lined up, getting treated like a 1.
As he should be.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
He's their flanker.
Still a value.
He's their Antonio Brown. He is their Amari Cooper. Like, he should be in line if he stays healthy. He's going to pay off on that 8th round ADP. I mean, it's such an easy thing to smash.
For Debo Samuel from last year in that 8th round ADP.
Oh, my God, that was beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very cheap.
This is
And he won't have to get handoffs, so he can actually keep catching passes.
Yeah, this is somebody that can pay off on that. It's a change of scenery. We know Juju's talented. As long as he's healthy, he's going to get used in a good offense. So,
yeah.
Seattle quarterback watch. Drew Lock, clearly the better quarterback in recent mock games. Seahawks training camp. He was playing with the second string offense against the first team defense. Geno Smith struggled the first team offense against the second team defense. So Locke doing more with less against the better competition. However, Geno Smith going to draw the first preseason start. Just an update on that for your super flex leagues, and because I'm a Drew Lock stan.
It's the only reason why he's in the notes.
So out of those, which receivers would you rather have if it's Drew Lock? Would you rather go Tyler Lockett or still go DK Metcalf?
I'd still go DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
Cortland Sutton. You look at it, Cortland Sutton with Drew Lock versus Cortland Sutton with Teddy Bridgewater, right?
Yeah.
That's how I draw that up. Cortland Sutton paid off on his ADP when Drew Lock played.
And they're still going to have to throw the football fair.
They are
too,
a good amount. So, whereas Judy kind of compares to Lockett nicely. We'll get to Judy here a little bit later in the show, but people hated when Drew Lock started and loved when Teddy started when Judy was in. So I mean, there's your answer right there. Some nice parallels between the Broncos receivers and the Seahawks receivers.
It's not just my answer; it's the answer for the people.
Yeah,
for the people.
For the people.
Yeah,
for the people.
For the person.
For the person. Yeah. For the person.
Thanks, Mom, for watching.
Treylon Burks is currently practicing with the second and third team offense and has been lining up wrong, not running through his routes. Woods, Nick Westbrook, Akeem, and Kyle Phillips run with the ones. Water on Treylon Burks for this year, at least for the beginning of this year.
I mean, he's still the only true X receiver on this. Like, he may not start the first couple weeks for whatever godforsaken reason, but I mean, you shouldn't be drafting him that high to begin with.
In redraft, I might almost be willing to sit out.
That's wait till someone mistakenly
somebody's going to get
him
frustrated with him and drops him. Nick Westbrook, I'm not worried about sticking. He had a chance last year and he didn't really run with it. It's kind of like Nico Collins down there in Houston. I see those two a lot of the same. Is they're going to get opportunity and they're going to be fine, but I don't think either one of them is going to grab the stranglehold that you would expect them to grab. Kyle Phillips, I like that type of player, but not the way that Tennessee runs their offense. So, Woods, I think, is going to have it, but I think there's going to be opportunity for Burks if he can get it going. We'll keep watching it throughout training camp. Right now, the way it stands, doesn't look great.
And, even if you still like him, you can still buy the dip because he's going to drop. And
he will.
The 10th round plus, Treylon Burks, I have no problem with that.
Well, and remember, this is a instant gratification league, too, so if you believe in him and he does have a bad rookie year,
Yeah.
You definitely buy the dip then.
I mean, now he's wide receiver 50, going in the 11th round. So, again, there's very little risk into this. And I think there's still payoff to this. There's no one that's built like him on this team. Woods is, coming off of his remarkable return from his, major knee injury. And he's over 30. Like, it might be Woods to start, and you see Burks just slowly, build himself into that role.
I'm very cautious on Burks doing a lot meaningful this year, but I'm going to keep watching throughout camp. And, that is an opinion that is not in concrete yet.
Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins activated from the PUP. Gus Edwards officially doubtful for week 1. Now, what that means
to the moon
is J.K. Dobbins to the moon, but pay attention throughout preseason and see who looks like they're going to jump up and take that RB2 spot.
Probably Mike Davis.
It does matter in this offense. It could be Mike Davis. It could be Tyler Beatty. So, could be Justice Hill, who's had some good notes out of camp, too. So it
might be Chris Hopper or Ryan Miner. Like, it doesn't matter.
My knees
y'all are going to be efficient runners scoring touchdowns.
My knees are shot. So
I'll just run to the sideline.
I am 220, but built a little different than an NFL running back.
Yeah.
5'11", 220 is prototypical NFL running back size.
I mean, you are Javonte Williams. Me
and Javonte Williams are the same size.
Yeah. You guys are built from the same mold.
Basically have the body of a pro athlete.
That's what I read.
Baltimore, well, we already did that. Another running back getting some love, and we thought that there was going to be some Darwin Thompson to this pick, but kind of the same thing with Eno Benjamin. Running with the ones, a lot of buzz in how they're moving him around. Isaiah Pacheco in Kansas City. We know they're not happy with Clyde, and they're looking for giving other options a real look. Not saying that Clyde's lost his job, but they're giving other options a real look. And all we've heard out of camp so far is Isaiah Pacheco, Isaiah Pacheco, Isaiah Pacheco. He's a hard runner. He catches the ball well. The coaching staff seems to really like him, and he's playing with the ones in training camp.
And
He's getting up there.
And he's basically
and
free.
he's still basically free. Now, he is someone you got to watch. I expect his stock. I mean, people are still pounding the table to draft the KC running back. So I wouldn't be surprised if this Pacheco news continues to buzz the way that it has over the last week or two. He's gonna move up, and I wouldn't be surprised if he reaches right around that 10th round range.
Yep. People are drafting early, but right now all the hype's still on Clyde, and everything I see is still on Clyde. And look, this is a guy with 4.37 speed that has a BMI that checks the box at 31.0. He's 5'10", 216. He's got good running back size. Everything on him really checks out. So, productivity wasn't necessarily there playing for Rutgers, but from an athletic standpoint, really good. So
All he needs is a chance.
All he needs is a chance, and he might get it.
In this offense, he doesn't need to do too much to be, to pay off on his value.
Yep.
I have a feeling next week we'll see an ADP on him too, because I don't see anything right now.
He is right now 1402.
Oh, 02. Yep, there it is. Just as I scrolled up, I'm like, oh, there it is.
Yeah. You just got to go a little bit longer, Ryan. That's all. You got to just go a little bit further.
I'm working on it. Within due time.
Bears wide receiver room is in shambles. David Moore carted off. Well, it was in shambles before training camp started, and then they've lost Byron Pringle to a quad and N'Keal Harry to a high ankle sprain. And David Moore carted off. Season might be over. Velus Jones and Darnell Mooney right now look like they're the ones.
Who the fuck else is who's available? There's got to be people.
Equanimous St.
Like
Brown.
free agents.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I've been seeing buzz about him now, but that buzz is because people ahead of him got hurt.
Let's go look at that depth chart real quick.
Oh, it's
You ready for the? Dante Pettis is there.
That's right. Oh, your favorite guy.
Yeah, Dante Pettis is there. Let's see, Darnell Mooney. These are the healthy ones. Darnell Mooney, Velus Jones, Daz Newsome, who I've seen some stuff about.
Yeah.
Tajay Sharp.
Jesus, it's so bad. Oh,
and ESB, Dante Pettis.
Mooney and Komet are about to see like a combined
oh my god,
50% target share between the two.
That's
gonna be high 40. It's gonna be like mid 40s for them.
There's a lot of name recognition there. Tajay Sharp, I didn't even know was still in the league.
I said the same thing about ESB. I thought he was gone too.
ESB.
I didn't know ESB till was Sleeper had him on as one of the top waiver ads.
Oof.
That's rough.
Yeah.
All right. Want to talk some bad takes?
Yeah. I love shit on bad takes.
These three were all pulled off the internet right before we started. 12-man PPR league. Someone tried to talk me out of taking Henry over Jonathan Taylor. I feel Henry is the safest pick, and JT is more likely to pull a CMC. Let's talk about why this is a bad take. This is what happens. I want to turn these into something productive. I don't just want to shit on it.
That's fair.
This is what happens when you overthink it. This is what happens when you start trying to predict injuries and overthinking what's going to happen. Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry are very similar players. Derrick Henry he's 30 now, I think, right?
No, I think he's 27.
29.
29.
He's 29.
Oh,
so
wow. Yeah.
he's approaching it.
That was way off.
Big back, a little bit up there in age, coming off of a foot injury. I think people forget that he's coming off that late season foot injury. And yes, he did return, I think.
He did.
It was a while ago. He did return, but you got to be careful with that. Tennessee's offense is not expected to be this juggernaut. They're going to be riding a 29-year-old back coming off of a foot injury. Jonathan Taylor's going to have more room to work, going to be less relied upon. This, to me, is just 100% what happens when you overthink a situation. Henry, yes, if he's healthy, he has good floor. I'm a little more concerned about the foot injury than most and his ability to come back from that all the way and not have that creep up and be a problem, especially after multiple years of high usage as he gets up there in age. You don't want to get caught on the wrong side of that, in my opinion.
I think what bothers me the most is it's afterwards when he says JT is more likely to pull a CMC.
You're predicting injuries.
First off, all running backs who have heavy usage in their offense are going to be injury prone to some extent. They're more subject to just more unnecessary hits. And backs who are built like Jonathan Taylor, who built like Derrick Henry, are going to take those unnecessary hits as they grind them up the middle, especially if they're a team that's actually moving and they get down to the red zone. You get to see those in between the guards and tackled runs. So we need to really kill the stigma that because a player has two unrelated injuries, it's all of a sudden this massively injury-prone player, especially with running backs, especially in redraft. You have to understand that at least 35+% of these top backs are likely to miss games, if not more than 2 or 3. Some will miss half the season, some will miss the full season. So Henry and JT. I'll take the better offense than JT. I still want CMC over both. I want my upside with my running backs who have heavy usage, where the injury chances are almost equal because they get heavy workloads.
Yeah, and plus you look at Indianapolis offense, they have a better offensive line. They got more weapons around them, a better quarterback. You look at Tennessee, their offensive line actually took a downgrade from what I read. And I saw it somewhere else. I forget where I saw it at. They're ranked bottom 20s as an offensive line. And eventually you have to think that, like Hopper says, this foot injury, you'll bring it up, or I bring it up to people, and they're like, well, that's 100%, heal rate. He should be fine. But it's you also have to look at that option, though, because you don't know what's going to happen. Someone can start stepping on it, get through that line. He's going to eventually start taking those unnecessary hits that he's going to want to take.
Just the fact that he's a massive, massive human being, too, that becomes a little bit more concerning. So,
and the offense just lost A.J. Brown. The offense got objectively worse, will score less points. And when you have a running back who does not make a living off of catching catches or off of catching passes, and you have to rely on those touchdowns, when your offense gets that much worse and you lower your chances of seeing those red zone trips, he's one of the easiest high first round fades. Yeah. One of the easiest. Yes. Just let somebody else take that chance. If you're a year early on him, fine.
And that's not going to say he's not a top 5 back, but all things equal, you're trying to predict a significant injury for Jonathan Taylor and not predicting it for Derrick Henry, when Jonathan Taylor doesn't have quite the same mileage on him, is the younger back, playing on the better offense, doesn't have the recent foot injury. You're predicting in the wrong area, and if you don't predict injuries, then JT is the clear option because he has pass-catching upside, which Derrick Henry does not have. So this is just a case. The big takeaway here, the big lesson is this is what happens when you start to overthink things. Don't overthink it in the early rounds.
Yeah,
all right,
and don't just assume that a player is gonna get. It's very lazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Someone asked who is a sleeper tight end, and the answer was Taysom Hill.
No.
This is quotes, not me saying it. Person that made this post said it. I think this is an amazing pick because if Winston goes down, Hill is still your tight end, and you can grab him as your second tight end.
For 1 week, and then he'll lose
He'll be a QB.
All right. He'll be a QB tag.
So let's play with this a couple different ways here. First thing, Taysom Hill is not the backup quarterback in New Orleans, and there's a reason for that.
Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton. They signed Andy Dalton. If Jameis Winston goes down, it's not Taysom Hill playing quarterback. That's your first thing. Second off, once again, you get into the issue of predicting injuries for people that aren't traditionally injury prone. Yes, Jameis tweaked his foot. He tore some knee ligaments. That happens to almost damn near everybody. He's not a mobile quarterback, though. So you're not as concerned about that if it had been a guy like Dak, if it had been a guy like Lamar Jackson, because Jameis isn't a mobile quarterback. Second thing here, don't draft a second tight end that needs an injury. We tell you in one tight end leagues to wait and draft two guys that have upside and see what hits and churn the other one. But, and we've said that for years, you don't want to draft somebody in one of those two spots that needs an injury to succeed. You want to draft somebody that's on an offense that has the opportunity to succeed without an injury happen and hedge your bets by taking two of those types of guys. You don't do it in your draft based on somebody needing to get hurt at the tight end position.
No, you're just wasting a roster spot at that point, and
you're wasting a draft pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bad. It's just there's
that's
like
indefensible.
The reasoning behind this is wrong. The whole outline, like there's very little leagues, like you know, two tight end leagues. We can't count this because obviously you have to start two, but like even tight end premium leagues, there's such a small group of tight ends that actually reap the true benefits of a tight end premium league. Taysom Hill would not be one of them.
No.
Be far from it.
Just there's no he should just remove them from your platform. You don't have the ability to, but reach out. Be like, I don't want him here anymore.
Also, never
in premium or not, 0 points is 0 points.
Also, never mind the fact that if you were playing tight end or we were to play quarterback, platforms are going to adjust that really quick.
Yeah, 1 week.
Exactly.
Some maybe two, and some may hybrid them, which would be asinine. But
all right, last one. Drafting Elijah Moore, players of bad quarterbacks will not help you win championships because of the bad quarterback play.
Oh, really?
Yeah. All right. So, couple things here. First one, Allen Robinson in Jacksonville. Brandon Cooks last year in Houston.
Jameis Winston a couple years ago in Tampa Bay.
With
Elijah Moore last year.
Yeah.
Not Jameis Winston. Not Jameis Winston, but, that would have been Chris Godwin, Mike Evans with Jameis Winston. We've seen several guys take off with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Love your Fitz, but you weren't elite. We've seen this time and time again where this is just wrong. Even if you don't believe in Zach Wilson, bad quarterbacks will support at least a wide receiver 2 and potentially somebody with flex value as well. Why? Because if you got a bad quarterback, you're playing from behind. And what happens when you play from behind? You throw the ball, or you're losing games late, you get soft coverage, and you pick that up in garbage time. Alan Hearns.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge with Blake Bortles. So, this is just an absolutely bad take because Elijah Moore is going in that Juju Smith-Schuster range and is a guy that can outperform ADP. Don't not take somebody that figures to see a significant volume just because they're on a bad offense or you don't like the QB play, because that person's likely, 1, to have less competition for targets, 2, to be in a positive game script for a pass catcher more often than not, and 3, be in a positive game script for a pass catcher more often than not. I didn't really have a 3, so I just repeated 2 twice.
Sound like a Fight Club line.
Yeah, it just I'm trying to understand where he's coming from. Like, you can, if someone wants to say I'm gonna fade, playmakers and bad offenses because of so and so reason. That's a pretty common thing. But to completely write off players because they have quote unquote, bad QBs, it's a very it's not a complete statement. The offense isn't solely based around the QB. And you have to look at the contents of the talent of the player as well, and then who's calling plays and what the volume is going to look like. So I understand, fading wide receiver 2s and 3s. But if you've seen a receiver who has been productive regardless of his quarterback, we'll talk about Elijah Moore.
I guess who probably
did it with he had 3 different quarterbacks and go over 20 points in those games.
Yeah.
Before he got hurt.
Yeah.
If you like, there's no reason to just pass him over because you think Zach Wilson sucks.
Mhm.
Like, it's objectively
asinine.
bad
Guess what?
advice.
Somebody at Atlanta is going to be in a hot waiver claim at some point this offseason
Oh yeah.
or this season. It's going to happen. Somebody in Detroit is going to help somebody make the playoffs. Somebody in Chicago is going to emerge and be a week-to-week starter.
So does this mean that he only drafts receivers with good quarterbacks?
Maybe,
'Cause,
but then you're really picking from. Yeah, here's the thing.
How
right?
did the Buffalo receivers do outside of Stephon Diggs? How did the Green Bay receivers do outside of Devontae Adams?
Well,
How did the Kansas City receivers do outside of
Tyreek Hill?
Tyreek Hill.
Like, tell me, like, make
Putting
it
multiple
make
wide
sense.
receivers.
And so what then? Kirk Cousins gets shit on constantly. Are you going to pass on Jefferson? Are you passing on Adam Thielen? Because Jefferson's upside is the number 1 overall receiver, and most people are betting on that.
Here's the thing, right? Elijah Moore's an 8th round pick right now. These are the closest wide receivers to him. Would you rather have Elijah Moore in the 8th round? Now, we talked about the 8th round a lot. Would you rather have Elijah Moore or Cordero Patterson?
Pretty obvious, Scott.
Yeah.
Elijah Moore or Brandon Ayuk, Elijah Moore or Robert Woods. Those are likely closer. Elijah
I think
Moore.
I still take Elijah Moore over.
Yeah.
Maybe not over Woods. Woods is close.
Bateman's right there too, which is probably also close. But you're going to skip on him, and then you're going to drop down to the next tier. So you would rather not take Elijah Moore. You'd rather drop down to Alan Lazard. He's got Aaron Rodgers.
That's an elite quarterback.
It's elite quarterback.
That means he's got to be good.
Yeah, he has to be. So no one ever.
I've played this game before.
I mean, that's like
here's the
saying, like,
thing.
Carson Wentz is bad for Terry McLaurin, and Terry McLaurin's a 4th round pick.
And here's the thing.
He did it with Taylor Heineke.
Yeah.
And a banged up Alex Smith and Ryan Fitzpatrick for like a day.
Guess what? Going ahead of him right now, Amari Cooper. Who the fuck's throwing Amari Cooper the football?
It won't be Watson.
Or Gabe Davis.
I hope not, at least.
I'm sorry. I love Gabe Davis. I'm a huge Gabe Davis fan. I was on sleeper Gabe Davis in the drafts. You go back and listen to that draft class. I've loved Gabe Davis since before he was drafted. Hipster Gabe Davis lover over here. I would not take Gabe Davis over Elijah Moore.
There's a lot of people that will.
Because of the quarterback.
And because of, gut feeling. But
yeah. I'm not taking Hunter Renfrow in the 6th over Elijah Moore, and I'm a huge Hunter Renfrow fan. I love that type of player. I talk about it every freaking week how I like that type of player and want him on my roster.
You absolutely do.
I'd take Elijah Moore over Hunter Renfrow. And Hunter Renfrow's going to the 6th, and Derek Carr's not even a good quarterback. You can't just say, quarterback's got it. I'm not taking the number 1 wide receiver on that team because the quarterback's bad.
This person's taking Sky Moore over like everybody.
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
It's got
that one hype video.
It's got Mahomes.
Drafting Rondale Moore because they're going to use him finally to his potential, and Kyler Murray's his quarterback over.
He's going to reach on Julio Jones in like the 5th. Hi, Julio. I know it. I know that name. Tom Brady's the GOAT.
Right.
Gotta happen.
Okay. Some either ors. You know what? We'll do a beer review about halfway through this. How about that?
Okay.
Either ors, because I think this one's going to be more of a discussion than the last two. Our boy Josh Larkey, who we still need to get back on the show.
Right now he's out spearing exotic fishes in the Amazon right now. Otherwise he would have been on
invasive
the show,
carp. He's a world savior, not.
That's right.
He's
killing. That's
he's
right. That's
spearing
right.
invasive carp that are trying to
spearing
take over the
invasive- yeah.
Amazon River, fighting off crocodiles with his bare hands.
Dude's doing the Lord's work right now.
Would you rather have a 17-point per game player in the 4th round or 12-point per game player in the 14th round, assuming it's a running back or wide receiver? I'm going to pause there, and I did pull some numbers on this one. I'm going to pause there and get your
same
takes.
thing.
Because I did pull numbers on this. And I voted one way, and then when I looked at the numbers, I changed my answer.
It's so when I pulled up his tweet, like the discussions were like they were all over the place. A lot of people are going to be, basing it off of value, which I think is where a lot of us want to go to, because value-based drafting is a good way to win, or a good way to build contenders.
And you're wrong if you do it that way.
Yes,
Because I went back and pulled this.
it's ugly. And the way I framed the question when I quote tweeted it was, would you rather have a wide receiver one? Would you rather have a top 7 player at their position
In the 4th
in the
round.
4th round, or a barely a flex player?
In the 14th round.
Yeah,
And
because
they-
you're basic. Yeah, and that's where things really start to change.
Yeah. And first off, the answer is I want both. But
Yes, the answer is you want both. Yes.
Yes.
But-
C.
if
Yeah.
given the option,
There is no C.
if given the option, Ryan, what's your take on this?
I rather just take it's easy to say I rather just take both because you can take both. But I rather just take the dart throw at the end, because if I'm going to put in any valuable draft capital, which I always feel like those first 7 rounds can be, like if someone can fall, I don't like doing it. But like when it's in the 14th round, you're trying to throw like high upside darts.
So, okay, that's where I was at first too. So I want to give you these stats, and this is what made me change my mind. Your 4th round picks last year were Mike Evans, Allen Robinson, Darrell Henderson, Myles Gaskin, Robert Woods, Julio Jones, Mike Davis, Adam Thielen, Amari Cooper. None of them hit 17 points per game. The closest was Evans at 16.4.
Which is a top.
You had
Just a wide receiver one.
A-Rob, Gaskin, busted. Woods was 15-2 before he got hurt. Julio was a bust. Davis was a bust. Thielen was 15-4 before he got hurt. Cooper 13-5, a little bit of a bust. So the first thing that stuck out to me here is that 17 points per game in the 4th round actually is of value, because the guys that were over 17 points per game were Cooper Kupp, who, yes, was a value. You sniped him in the mid-rounds last year. Devontae Adams, who you took early. Deebo Samuel, 8th round pick. Justin Jefferson, who you took early. Jamar Chase, who is in that 6th to 8th round range. Tyreek Hill, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Deontay Johnson. Those are the wide receivers that were above 17 points per game. That 17 point per game wide receiver in the 4th round is still value. And that's what made me flip to, okay, if I'm going to find value, give me the guy I take in the 4th that gives me 1st round value or early 2nd round value for a wide receiver that's top 7 at the position, like Dan said, versus give me the guy in the 14th that's cracking flex. Your 14th rounders that had 12 plus points last year were Amon-Ra St. Brown and Gage.
Yeah, but if you look at it too, like the one that you say in the 4th round, they got over 17 points. You're looking at 11 misses on that. So you're hoping to hit that one.
Right, but the question isn't
round.
where am I more likely to find it. It's given the option, would I would rather have the 17 point per game value in the 4th round? It's a value question. Or the 12 point per game value in the 14th. I would rather use my 4th round pick and get 1st round value out of that 1st round pick than use my 14th round pick and get 9th round value out of that.
So basically, it's this: it's who are you more comfortable? Who are you going to be more comfortable starting each and every week, and who actually has the league-winning upside? Because 17 points per game is not it's not consistent every year. There are some years where it never happens for wide receivers. And when you look at the 12, and 12 is a really good benchmark because you look at wide receivers, it was a high wide receiver 4, and running backs were a high 3, low 2. You're basically rotating these players. You're not playing those players with confidence unless you get into an Amon-Ra St. Brown type of situation where where you have injuries, you had a slight, showing of his target volume early on in the season. So when players got hurt, you pick him back up because he was likely dropped in between those, games, and then you ride him off, into the sunset. That's also very rare. And most times, the first player you're drafted in the 14th round is probably the first player that you're cutting.
Also,
you're not cutting your 4th round player, unless they get hurt.
You're benching them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also the way that most people draft, your 4th round player is going to be your second at whatever position, right? So you're looking at RB2 wide receiver 2 value, and you're really getting mid-tier 1 value out of it. Versus you're drafting in the 14th round, you're looking at a late bench guy, like Dan said, Amon-Ra St. Look at the two guys that did it, right? Gage was highly inconsistent. Amon-Ra St. Brown was a late-year breakout. Most people cut him before it ever got to that point.
Yeah,
so
he was more like a
Devonta
playoff
Freeman
push.
all over again.
Right.
We got a question from the audience.
What's up?
Do you want to keep talking about this before we jump into it?
No, I think that I really made. I think that my point's there. Like, ideally, you want both because the game is you find value. You exceed your draft capital with value, and that's how you win leagues. You find the players that are going to outperform their draft capital. In this case, both positions are outperforming their draft capital, but one's outperforming it at I won't say elite level, but a very, very good level. The other one's outperforming it at flex level. Give me the 2 wide receiver 1s over the wide receiver 1 and the wide receiver 3 that may save me from an injury.
All right. This is from Anthony. This is a 1 QB redraft question.
Okay.
Who are your guys' favorite late round QBs to target if you miss on the elite tier?
All right. What do we define as late round? Let's establish that first.
Let's establish as I want to say
I
want to put it either at 10, either at 8+ or 10+.
I think in the past
we've used.
I think in the past we've used 8+ when we've talked about this.
It's a lot. We can do both. We can do a quick highlight on the 8th round, but then we can also spend some time.
All right, we'll give you somebody
in that 10th round
each range.
I like that.
All right, we'll give you an 8 to 9 and a 10 to 12. Round 8 right now for me, it's Tom Brady. He's going at the 806, single quarterback, full PPR. He has consistently produced. The offense isn't going to change that much with Byron Leftwich over Bruce Arians. He's got to get Godwin back at some point. Mike Evans, yes, he tweaked his hamstring. He figures to be relatively healthy. The productivity is going to be there for Tom Brady to sit in that mid to late QB1 range. He doesn't have the mobility, but as a passer, he hasn't fallen off at all. It's not like Tampa Bay does not have depth. You're dealing with injuries early on in training camp. A lot of tweaks and things like that. Godwin's going to be back earlier than expected. You're kind of playing the long game here. You have to stream early on. That's fine. Really like Brady in the long run here. He gives you some quarterback 1 value going in that mid-8th round. So that's my pick.
Ryan,
I'm gonna go early at it. I'm going right at 802 because I see Dak Prescott, and I'm super high on Dak Prescott
I love
this
Dak
year
too. That's a great call.
I think he's really going to bounce back this year, and he's definitely going to throw it more. And what we saw last year is he didn't really run the ball as much as he has been the past few years. Where I think he was getting closer. He had a 300 or 400 yards. So I want to say over the last 2 years before last year, where he kind of took that step back because of that whole ankle. And I think this year he's going to have to step up more and kind of put more of the offense on his back. He's going to be throwing a lot more. I think he's really going to step up. I think he actually has the opportunity to push again for that QB1 overall.
It's not like Dak was bad last year. I mean, he was the quarterback 7. He outperformed Joe Burrow, who a lot of people love this year on a regular
That's because he had
basis.
his 2 strong games in the year. That's the reason why Burrow's being taken where he's being taken.
Yes, it is.
If we look at Prescott a couple of years before that, he was actually like a league winning type of quarterback. I see him bouncing back as that league winning type of quarterback for you.
For me, it's no shocker. Give me the Konami code quarterback.
You're
He's
going
got
for Trey
insane
Lance.
upside. It's going to be Trey Lance. Again, Jalen Hurts was bad at throwing the football last year, and he finished 6th in points per game because rushing upside. In single QB league, where you can stream quarterbacks over and over again, if your high bust, high upside guy doesn't pan, you got to go for that upside. You want to separate yourself with as much value as you can get at the QB position. That's why you pass on. That's why you should pass on Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray and even Jalen Hurts to an extent, and then definitely pass on guys like Mahomes just because of the value alone. Mm-hmm. Take the shot on Trey Lance in the 9th round. If you can't get him, the two guys that you guys talked about, Brady and Dak, also fantastic choice in their own right. I shoot for upside in 1 QB leagues. I don't care about if they bust because I'll go find the next Kirk Cousins to stream and just keep moving around because I know how to play the waiver wires.
And speaking of Kirk Cousins, let's look at this 10th to 12th range because there are 3 to 4 guys here that also I think really, really work out. I'm going to take the guy that I seem to be the only one stumping for. If you guys don't pick up on one of the other 2 guys that I like, I'll go ahead and throw that out there as well. Tua Tagovailoa, 11-10. You look at what Miami's done with that offense. Tua, another year removed from the hip injury, was very efficient last season. Accuracy super high, and really did come along a little bit as the season wore on. My thing with this is that Tua's put in a position to succeed. Doesn't mean that he absolutely will, no, but he started 13 games last season. He didn't start them all, and towards the end of the year, he was starting to perform a little bit better, and then they've gone out there, they changed offenses, should see a little bit more A-dot to his game. You add in Tyreek Hill, you add in Cedric Wilson to that, you bring in the running game and what should be a better offensive attack. I think it's worth the shot there. If it doesn't pan out, you're in streaming range, that's fine. But I think Tyreek Hill is going to help this a lot. I think Jalen Waddle is going to be used on a little bit deeper than 6 yards from the line of scrimmage.
He most definitely
will. Cedric Wilson is an upgrade over Preston Williams. And then you add that running game in to take some of that pressure off of him. Tua has what it takes to be a highly efficient quarterback in this league. A lot kind of in the way that Russell Wilson has been a highly efficient quarterback where he doesn't need to throw the ball a boatload. He had receivers that he could hit deep and a really, really high touchdown percentage with some rushing floor. That's what Tua Tagovailoa gives you. That's the upside that Tua gives you going late in the 11th round. So I do not hate him there either. Dan?
No. All right.
I think I know where you're going here.
I will give this slide now to Justin Fields at 31.
That's what I wanted to do too.
Thank God I let you go first because I was
you can talk about him, but like if you want your discount economical quarterback, just go Justin Fields.
It's your discount Trey Lance.
Your discount literally every economical
exactly
for him.
Dude, you nailed that one right on the head. It's easy to say.
There's a boatload of rushing floor to Justin Fields down there in the 13th round.
Yeah. Otherwise, Kirk Cousins, because you're gonna have a top 5 pass. You have a top 5 passing offense with Mike Zimmer. you get Kevin O'Connell, Sean McVay, modern day play calling and offensive scheming. So basically, you're going to get a more efficient offense that wants to be more vertical, not the eighth, not the 3rd down and 8 check down to CD or to CJ Ham for like 6 yards. Like, no, this is going to be a top 5 passing offense. They have a bottom-ish defense that should be better, but it's not quite there. And you get 2 of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Someone emerging as a flex option in KJ Osborne. Kirk Cousins is the quarterback that you circle if you can't get one of these Konami quarterbacks.
One quarterback I'm going after right now, and I'm looking right at him, is Trevor Lawrence. Because, he was considered that generational talent that you couldn't miss on. And last year, the Jaguars were just a disaster. There was nothing they could do right. And he had nothing around him. And then this offseason, they went on, added offensive linemen, got him more weapons. They're trying to build a team to make him move forward with Doug Peterson and stuff. I definitely like what he can do going forward this year with all the weapons he has around him now.
Yeah, good call.
One more note on Kirk Cousins. last year QB 11, year before QB 11, year before had he played all 15 games, which he did not, but if he had, he would have been the QB 13, so just outside of that QB 1 range. 2018 QB 13. So back in QB 1 pretty relatively consistently for Kirk Cousins. And an offense that should be more pass happy, and he's got Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, some great pass catchers. Probably would have been easier to tell you who we didn't like in that range, which is basically Deshaun Watson and Derek Carr. But yeah, there's a lot of good options there. Waiting on quarterbacks, absolutely the right way to go, and hopefully we sold John one of those guys. I guess it's back to me now, isn't it?
Yes.
I am kind of hosting this.
You do host
You have
things.
this stuff.
Okay. Let's do a beer review, and then we'll get into some of these other questions, which should be pretty rapid fire in nature.
Beer review.
Ryan, I'll start with you. You're
Go
a
ahead,
full-blown
Stone.
you're a full-blown member now. You got to start these on occasion.
I do. Stone Fear Moot v Lions. The hazy IPA by Stone Brewery. It comes in 8.5%. I'm gonna read the Beer Advocate. It says overall, this unfiltered double IPA is juiced up with, was it MAV? MASV. Wow, I already started that off bad.
Just keep going.
Just keep rolling, man. Just
Little on
keep
the
rolling.
side, tropical and citrus notes. The mild bitterness and relatively dry body complement the style, and the residual maltiness nicely rounds it out. Lingering lime peel and tropical fruit derived from the hops stand out on the finish, begging one to seek out more. I do kind of see that a little bit, yeah. I do get more of the fruity taste on the back end of it than anything.
I mean, it's the West Coast Brewery doing a double hazy. You're going to get, the characteristics from those breweries, even when they make a beer that may not highlight those styles.
Yeah, it's still citrusy on the back end, which is the way I like it.
Naughty.
Yeah, that's not even a real word. That MASVE. I don't know what that is. Never seen that before in my life.
And it's supposed to be mauve.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Is it me?
I'm just gonna stare down with you to see who's gonna go first.
Okay,
It makes
that's
for,
fine.
Makes for great podcast.
Makes for fantastic podcasting radio.
I'll just go again.
Yeah. Oh God.
Next review.
You're gonna read off of Untapped next.
Start reading.
So again,
reviews
I
for
am
that.
drinking Jefferson Reserve. This is finished in the Pritchard's a cast or a Cabernet cast finish. As you can tell, nice dark rich color to it. Nose, you get hints of the toastiness. I get a lot of the wine barrel, very very rich in fruit. A bit sweet on the nose. I got a little too deep, got a little bit of ethanol, but it happens. Sometimes you got to burn your fucking nostrils a little bit. All right, I'll take a sip. On the mouthfeel, it's or I guess on the overall taste, very, 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 very subtle burn. Pretty much not there after a couple sips. You get a lot of cherry and cherry wood. This is where I get more of the bourbon to it, though. I get a lot of the toasted vanilla, the toasted caramel, rich milk chocolate. And the after taste to it, the lingerness of it is it's like chocolate milk to me. It's very, very good.
Awesome. One note on Jefferson's, by the way, before I do my beer review. If you have had Jefferson's before and were underwhelmed by it, be it one of the Ocean's expressions or one of the regular expressions, every store pick I've had of Jefferson's has actually been very, very, very good. I know a lot of people are turned off by the regular expressions, regular releases, and walk by it. But if you have the chance to come into and pick up and you should, because they kind of sit around a little bit and they shouldn't, a store pick Jefferson's, I have yet to have a bad one. or one that I was disappointed in. So that's just a note for single barrel selects of that particular label. They tend to be very, very good and much better than the regular releases. Not always the case. All right. As a reminder, I was drinking Paul Honor's Oktoberfest. This is a Marzen version of an Oktoberfest. One thing about this is that Paul Honor is imported. So, I believe, got to make sure of that because some of these guys brew over here. Yes. So, Paul Honor is imported. With any beer that's imported, if you had a Heineken in a bottle, not a can, completely different experience. If you've had any beer, Rolling Rock, same thing, in a bottle, not a can, completely different experience. You know that these do, on the trip over, lose some freshness. They drop a little bit. And kind of get that on this at first, too. A little light struck, just a little off, but warms up a little bit more, that kind of goes away, and you just get a good, crisp Oktoberfest. The toastiness is absolutely there. There's a light sweetness that hangs around, just a little bit of caramel and toffee notes to it. It's got a very distinct breadiness. Hops come out to play, just enough to balance out that malt flavor to it. Super crisp. I've already poured 2 of them. There's 4 more I'm trying to save for this weekend. But, yeah, really, really good beer. Temps were a little cooler today. Glad I picked this up. Just gets me all excited for Oktoberfest season. Wanted to go with the classic, and this is a very classic example of it, aside from the fact that, it did travel overseas. So you're always going to lose a little bit when that happens.
Yeah, one day I want to get to Europe and actually,
Speaking of which, by the way,
drink their beer fresh.
if you ever have the chance to grab a Rolling Rock or a Heineken in a can versus the green bottle, because the green bottles let more light through, do it, because all that skunkiness is completely gone, and they're actually really good that way.
Yeah, that's why bottles are starting to go by the wayside in a lot of more traditional beers. It's because it's
the technology in cans have improved so much to where they're lined now, so that tinniness doesn't get into the beer, which was the problem beforehand. Is you'd get some tin and some metal notes on the beer. So, starting to go away from that for that reason. Now, brown bottles, don't pick that up quite as bad, but green bottles are real bad about it, which is why Rolling Rock and Heineken are super susceptible to it because they're both green bottled. So,
and be mindful where you're shopping too. If you're buying your beer, if you're buying your bottled beer at different stores, look to where the bottles are being located in the store. Not every store is going to have the they're not going to have the protective light, so they're sitting underneath these lights, and the beer will start to skunk if left there long enough.
Yes, it will. Also, pay attention to most bottles have some form of date on them. Pay attention to how fresh that beer is, because it does matter, especially when you're drinking, more crisp beers like lagers.
And once you start looking for them, it's a habit you pick up very quickly. And one I do constantly. I do it to my own beer all the time.
Yeah, and you'll find out where you want to shop for your beer and where you don't. Sorry for our talk.
No, now I'm really gonna be searching when I go buy beer, my regular beer now.
It's a really good way because especially with IPAs, I've had beer that was canned 15 minutes like from that time, so I've had it about as fresh as you can have it. And a lot of times you gotta let the hops settle a little bit. So I always say give IPAs a couple of weeks to let everything kind of just settle, and otherwise you're gonna get a lot of hops.
There's a sweet spot on most beers, and we could probably do a whole episode on that.
We don't need to get into it now.
Yeah, we won't get into it now. We could do a whole episode on
the off season,
and we probably will.
And we got Ryan here, which is perfect because he seems excited to want to learn.
Maybe
more
we'll
about
take
it,
a bye week in the middle of the week when we're just fucking done with the week.
We'll do a bye week in like week 6. Not nothing too bad's happened. Only a couple injuries. You guys are fine.
All right, rapid fire. A couple of these should be rapid fire. So, some would you rather, some rapid fire questions. Would you rather pick at the middle or pick at the turn in a redraft league?
I think middle is where I'm at now.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I like being in the middle because you're not really starting the trend or ending a trend. You're kind of just like coming at whatever best value is at you.
I like the middle because I feel like I end up with a more balanced roster too.
Yeah.
And also in the later rounds, I have the ability to kind of dictate and control. And maybe if I want to go a little early on somebody, I can. But at the end, if a run happens, you're just sitting there watching it, and then it's okay. Do I want to pick up the scraps? Do I want to try to start another run and go too early on somebody? It's harder to get value at the turn, in my opinion.
Well, yeah. And plus, when you're going early, you're only going early like a half a round. You're not going early a full round.
All right. Would you rather have an elite tight end or have a late tight end that finishes as a mid tight end 1, that tight end 6 to 9 range?
Elite.
Oh man.
So just a point differential there between like who
I mean,
could
we
be
just
the
talked
elite.
about this kind of, yeah.
It's elite or late.
We've
You
talked
know,
about
our
this a
3
lot.
tight ends we want, and then forget it.
I'd rather have the late tight end because I know what I'm missing out on and what I'm potentially missing out on if I take one of the elite tight ends. And while, yes, the point differential between those top 2 or 3 is a lot, again, it's 2 to 3 guys in a league, and if one of them catches an injury, again, don't like betting on that, but it's 2 to 3 guys in a league that might pull some differential, and they still have to hit in other places. You know, I would rather give me the late round tight end that's going to balance out with the other 9 teams in the league versus the guy that just completely separates me, and then we'll figure it out with matchups in the playoffs.
Yeah. I
'Cause
know
I'm
that
gonna get there.
there's
way.
just like just getting some ADP on it would it's going to be a big difference, but almost always I will fade tight ends.
Mhm.
Even the top ones, I will almost always in traditional redraft leagues will fade tight ends.
All right. Rank these 3 running backs because I see a lot of these 3 getting tossed out in either ors. Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, CMC.
CMC Cook Henry.
Yep, I was just gonna say the same thing, and then I burped.
CMC Cook Henry. I'm right there with you. The Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry talk. Look, Dalvin Cook catches passes, and they're about to get more pass happy. And he's a good runner. Yes, he's had some injury problems, but give me that pass catching upside that Dalvin Cook brings and what's going to be a more pass happy offense. And CMC, if he can put together a healthy season, is going to be a top 2 to 3 back. Give me that upside, and I just know that I'm going to have to insulate it.
And they're both younger.
Yes.
I just want pass catchers.
Yeah, that too.
Yep.
And guys that when they play are going to score more than 20 points a game and like every single fucking game.
Yes.
CMC.
All right, middle of the third, Michael Pittman or T. Higgins?
Oh God, Jesus.
Give me Pittman. Give me the wide receiver 1 on a team that should be better at passing the football. It's barely over Higgins, but Higgins had a little bit of look, as a T. Higgins manager, T. Higgins had a little bit of inconsistency last year with Jamar Chase.
It was just some damn touchdowns, man. He went through
Yeah.
that like 6 or 7 week stretch
Right.
where he didn't
Right.
score a touchdown, and then he scored like 3 or 4 weeks in a row, and it
Or
was
just-
right back to where he should be.
A little disappointed there sometimes with T. Higgins. Not always. There's just a little bit more boom bust there than you're going to get on Michael Pittman.
That's still Pittman, but it's very close. I've been loving the T Higgins.
Their
a lot,
ADP
too.
is the same, so
Yeah, it's all in Pittman for improvement at quarterback, and he was one of the most efficient receivers against both man and zone last year. Like it should only get better for him in an offense that should be significantly better than last year, at least more consistent than last year.
Especially with the quarterback upgrade.
Yeah.
you Pittman too, Ryan.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to start this one. Deontay Johnson or DJ Moore in the middle of the fourth?
Give me DJ Moore. You got Baker Mayfield now. The Baker Mayfield stand account is going full spin right now. I'm not. He's gonna make DJ Moore the better wide receiver, and he's gonna score over 4 touchdowns.
Give me DJ Moore just because he's been very, very good with bad quarterbacks the last couple of years, let alone, regardless of what happens with Baker Mayfield, we know he can absolutely do it. Deontay Johnson's going from Ben, who was not good, but early signs of Mitch also aren't good, and it's more of a run-favoring team.
It's the early signs in all 3 of their quarterbacks. The fact that Pickett is struggling to overtake Mason Rudolph is
It's early.
It's still early.
Yeah, we got.
It's
we
Mason
take him a
fucking
little bit.
Rudolph, bro. It's just the answer is DJ Moore, though. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's more coach speak though on the whole Kenny Pickett thing.
Yeah.
just kind of.
Well,
boost it up.
Motivate him a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see.
I mean,
Preseason
I
games are
guess.
starting on Thursday. We'll find out.
like I still don't want to really out there, but it's fine.
Middle of 6, Adam Thielen, Jerry Jeudy, or Allen Robinson?
Allen Robinson.
Judy. I've turned.
I am.
Oh my God, are you going
right,
Allen
rank it.
Robinson?
You're going Allen Robinson with me?
I
Are we
am-
on the same team?
I am Robinson, Jeudy, Thielen.
Yeah.
I have
Let's go.
Judy and Robinson are very
It's the
very
sixth-
close.
It's the 6th round. We don't hate players. We hate ADP. Allen Robinson was not a alpha. He doesn't have to be. He's on a team with Cooper Kupp now. He's a 2.
He's a beta.
And guess what? He's going to be damn good at that role with a damn good quarterback, not having to be
Whatever you had,
the only guy.
he's had before. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Jerry
I'll-
Jeudy too because of the Lockett role with Wilson. And I like Adam Thielen if he can stay healthy, given what I think Minnesota's offense is going to be the biggest takeaway here. Middle of 6 is a great place to grab a wide receiver too.
Oh, yeah.
Got 3 if you're going hero.
Or 3.
I'm doing a lot of hero RB. It's going to be a lot of these guys are going to be my wide receiver 3, 4, 5. It'd be
And
great.
there ain't a damn thing wrong with that. I will walk out of most drafts with one of these 3.
Yeah. Not both.
But
Not
I
two
like
of them.
Robinson the most. All right, rapid fires. More. From around the
More.
internet. Oh, this is another kind of a thing. Question that I found online. I have the 4 spot in full PPR. Am I crazy for thinking Najee there?
Are you crazy? No. Should you do it? No.
No.
Also, no. You're not crazy. You can certainly spin the narrative for Najee Harris to be the 4th overall pick. But I'd rather take Jefferson or Chase
Or Cup.
or Cobb.
Yeah.
Or
Just give me
Eckler.
one of those guys that slips. It'll be CMC,
Yeah.
JT,
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson, Cup, or Jamar Chase. Just pick your poison. You're
Yep.
going to be just fine.
All right. Taylor goes 1. Who's the best option at 2? Is it CMC or do you go wide receiver?
CMC
I go
number 1 for
CMC.
me. He's number 1 for me. So yeah. You know that answer.
Okay, we'll get to more of that in a minute. You guys are convincing me CMC, but I tend to want to go the safer route with a Jefferson with a J Jeff, who I have over Chase, by the way.
What about
He
Austin
is number
Eckler?
1.
Eckler, you could also make the case for. I have never been huge on Austin Eckler just because of he has a long history of not fluky injuries of soft tissue issues.
Well, that was 2020. Was
yeah.
like his big like
He's had a couple.
flyer.
He's had more than that, but I like Eckler. I don't think I like Eckler to be at the 2. I think I like him more in the middle of the 1st.
It's
It's
the
also a
fact that
volume
he's
thing.
not going to get he's not set up to get the 250, 275, 300 touch range.
He's going to be in the low.
he's in the low
2s.
200s, which is fine because he's hyper efficient and a great
Oh,
offense.
super
But
Yes,
you need those guys to continue to be that efficient if they're not going to get the touches.
Eckler's closer to that Mixon Cook type of range than he is the top tier for me. Okay, full PPR snake picking at the turn. Are you going running back, or running back wide receiver? My take on this is you're approaching it wrong if that's the way you're thinking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're going whoever the best 2 are available at the turn,
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
and
It
then
could be 2 running backs. It could be
Could be-
running back a wide receiver.
could be wide receiver.
Yeah. It could even be wide receiver. Wide receiver.
You can get saucy and go Travis Kelsey there, who's going to finish as a wide receiver 1, probably based on its points.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You could.
You could.
I'd say you should. But
There's a
Yeah,
lot
so
you could do there, but if you're, and I see a lot of this, this is a huge
Yeah.
mistake. I saw a lot of this online. Huge mistake. Do not think of it in terms of positions. This is why you create tiers. This is why you draft based on tiers, and this is why you blend tiers. This is why you don't just have running back rankings or wide receiver rankings. This is why you say, I value these guys the same, and you tier up Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase with Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey, right? This is why you do that. So you have an idea of where the value is regardless of position. Do not draft positions until the mid rounds.
And even then, like the
positions
further
will
you
take
are
care of
away from the
themselves.
start of like the further you are away from the beginning of the season, the less you should care about bye weeks, positional, and just know that you have a lot of time.
People on the
Dude.
same team.
Yeah.
Like, that's all mistakes people fall into. Look at individual player value and figure it out based on that, based on tiers.
Absolutely.
Just pass on Javonte Williams in the second round still.
Yes.
God,
Too
he's going way too
He's
early.
got huge
still.
upside, but he needs a Melvin Gordon injury to reach that. And
Yeah, because right now they're both
Gordon's
on
been
pitch
very
counts.
stable.
Yeah. So, just this was kind of the quintessential problem, but there was a lot of this. A lot of people that know their draft position. They're like, all right, what position do I draft? Don't think.
Oh, yeah, I
not-
never draft like that.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing we were told a little bit ago. You weren't with us when we heard this. What's obvious to us isn't obvious to the casual fantasy player because we live in it. We talk about it every day. We have conversations about it every day. We know it. Casual guy that's joining his office league that's tuning into podcasts this time of year to just figure out what to do and what the experts are saying ahead of his draft, try to win that league, doesn't. Those are the guys that are posting these questions. Those are the guys that are thinking about it in terms of what position do I draft. It's obvious to us that have been playing the analyst game for years now. It's not obvious necessarily to the common casual player that really jumps in this time of season. Why it's worth talking about. You do not draft positions.
Nope.
CeeDee Lamb, a first-round pick.
Starting to push that way, but I don't think so.
Probably
I
not.
took second round.
Yeah, I think he's
He's right on that fringe.
mid to high second. I think it's fine. It depends how many receivers I think you want to look at taking over him, and compare it to what we would normally see is what 5 to 6 running backs go, if not more. You throw in Jefferson, Chase, Cup, Diggs, Adams.
So right now,
Samuel.
right now your first round is Taylor McCaffrey, Cup, Henry Eckler, Jefferson, Harris Cook, Chase, Mixon, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Swift, and then you get into Diggs. And I think, right, if you wanted to take him not ahead of Adams, but I think you could make the argument to go ahead of or right with Diggs there at the early part. So, and I think you could also make the argument for a Najee Harris or a Joe Mixon to go early in the second. So there's a scenario. I think CeeDee Lamb limbs right on that fringe of back of the first, early second.
Yep.
It's really based on whether or not you believe that he can take the next step and kind of really command that target share. Hopefully
gonna
play
throw.
outside more. It's all about because he's set in that 20% range.
They're
Whether or
gonna,
not he can now jump and move up.
yeah,
And I think they're putting him more in the slot too right now.
they
He's-
do,
In
He
camp.
primarily plays in the slot.
and they're gonna
This
throw,
has been in the league.
and they're gonna throw. So yes, you could make that argument. I don't want to say he's firm there. To me, he's anywhere between back of the first, early second, but you can certainly make. Who is a usual consensus first rounder that you are avoiding this year at all costs?
Derrick
Henry.
Henry. Derrick. Like I think that's the most consensus we've ever been on.
Yeah. I mean, we don't hate Derrick Henry. We just hate his ADP.
I don't hate Derrick Henry.
I
People
don't
are
hate any
drafting-
player. I just hate their ADPs.
People are drafting Derrick Henry without adjusting for anything that's happened with Derrick Henry's situation. They're not adjusting for the foot injury. They're not adjusting for the offensive line. They're not adjusting for the offense and offensive efficiency. Yeah, that's the issue with Derrick Henry right now is that people are just expecting him to be elite and not taking anything that's changed for Derrick Henry into account. It's not like he's way off. It's a half round difference from where it'd be like, yeah, Derrick Henry's fine.
If you want Derrick Henry to go so bad, just
get him.
wait and draft Nick Chubb.
Actually, I was saying just wait and draft Saquon Barkley.
Wait and oh god, he's
Barkley's got more
do
upside.
not besmirk Barkley
You-
with the guy
you-
who just
you-
catch passes.
You want that league? I want that league winning upside.
You're
And
sent-
I'd rather wait till the second
Well,
round to get
sure,
it.
I'll
No,
take
you're-
Derrick. Yeah,
Your
yeah.
your sentiment is right. The player comparison is not, but the
Yeah.
sentiment is
Oh
right.
yeah, no.
He's Nick Chubb. That's like if you want second round Derrick Henry, just draft Nick Chubb, which
understand
I don't
where
want
Dan-
either. So.
I understand where Dan's coming from based on comparing the type of player. I understand where you're coming from based on wait because Nick Chubb or Saquon Barkley is a much better value
Yes.
given the upside. All right, last one. Earliest you would take CMC this year after last year's injuries, and this is where I drop. Been quiet on CMC while you two have both been 102, 102.
He's always been my 101.
For 101.
I would still take Jefferson over JT too.
So you
Wow.
took CMC over JT.
Yeah, I've been in that camp the whole offseason. We talked about this, I think, like 2 months ago, and I was.
Did we argue about it?
I mean,
Little bit.
at that point, he was your 102. So the argument was, it was just, what's the difference? Like they're not in different tiers. So you're just.
Yeah, I don't want the 102. Is where I'm at this year.
I want probably the 105, 106.
Yeah.
I probably want the 105 ish.
My problem is I don't want the 102 because I don't feel right taking one of the wide receivers at 102, and I don't like any of the running backs enough to take them 102. The question is, where am I comfortable taking Christian McCaffrey? Probably 105. And there are some leagues where he will fall there because of the injury situations the last 2 years. I still very much believe in the upside. I don't want to ignore the fact that there's been 2 injury-riddled seasons now. And that the offense is just probably not going to be that good. I love Christian McCaffrey. The upside is huge. I understand that. I'm looking for a value based on the injuries with him, though. Now, if I'm at the 102, I guess I'm taking Christian McCaffrey, but the key word there is where am I comfortable? I'm not going to feel great about it because I'm not going to feel great about whatever I have to do at the 102. Doesn't matter who it is. I'm not going to feel good about it because I'm going to feel like I reached for one of the wide receivers or I took a running back I fully didn't believe in at that position.
I mean, it's the same argument with with even JT at 1. What does JT do that makes you feel comfortable taking him at 101 over anybody else?
For one, he's played games the last 2 seasons.
Okay, he's also a running
That's-
back where 40% of the position gets hurt. So
He is.
again, I'm aiming for, and he has 5 straight seasons dating back to college of seeing nearly 300 touches.
Mhm.
So I mean, I'm not going back to that bullshit statement on Twitter. But if we're basing off of injury prone, based off of what and the amount of touches a player could see, JT's in the same camp as these other guys. He's just gotten a little bit lucky then.
I'm basing it historically, and sure, give me luck, but historically what we've seen with backs is we can pretty reliably predict that Dalvin Cook's going to miss a couple games with soft tissue issue, 1 to 2. Austin Eckler will miss 1 to 2 games. There are certain things that while we say don't predict injuries, you can pretty much bank on. Now, you could probably say that with most running backs. They're going to miss 1 to 2 games, but when I look at the last 2 years, I think, and with Saquon too, and it's why Saquon's a value, right?
Yeah.
Saquon's had 2 seasons where he is discounted because of injury.
Well, then when he's played,
He's also not
when
looked
he's
great.
played, he hasn't looked like. The thing about McCaffrey is
When he's
that
played,
every
he's been
time he's
good.
played, he's 25. It's insane what
He's-
he do on the same type of offense. His offenses he's played on have never really been that good.
You got to play.
His Torres
And-
can't. Yeah, it's just he's been.
And it's
insane.
important to note, I'm not saying I wouldn't take McCaffrey 102. I'm saying I wouldn't feel great about it because it's going to be in the back of my mind of, shit, this could be a wasted pick if this turns out anything like the last 2 seasons did. Or this pick could really not return value. And this is the thing. I talk a lot about value. I talk a lot about liking my draft picks to exceed their value. Nobody in the first round is going to exceed first round value. Because you can't.
No.
So I want to
mean,
feel
yeah.
very confident that player is going to produce recency bias. I'm not going to hide from it. Recency bias is going to come into play, and that's going to make me more comfortable with Jonathan Taylor because he's been the guy the last 2 seasons.
And that's been the consensus is because these guys are like he's been able to avoid getting hurt. Like that's great, and he's done this dating back to Wisconsin, and it's I have like 0 issue.
Yeah.
Like I want my my tier 1 between both backs and receivers is those 2 plus Cup, Chase and Jefferson.
Yes.
I just want one of them. I don't care who it is because I know what I'm getting is league winning upside at that position. That even though I'm spending a top first round pick on them, that there's still a value.
And that,
Cooper Kupp in the first round last year would have still been a value for what he
because
did.
he outperformed the next closest wide receiver by 7 points a game.
it's insane, and that's what a guy like Jefferson and Chase and Cup could do again. That's what CMC can do, and if Jonathan Taylor can just get the target volume, we know he's a good pass catcher. He can just get the target volume.
And
he'll be there too.
And I'm not even arguing with you about the tier. I'm just arguing with you about how I'd have that tier organized. That's literally where we're at.
Yeah. Ryan, sorry. You go.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
We do this to you a lot.
No, I mean,
it's like beer reviews again. I have nothing else to say. It's good.
I mean, I like Christian McCaffrey a lot, and like he has that week winning upside and alone just in himself. So I can see justify taking him as high as 101 because he can give you a 30, 40-point game.
It's just so casual. 30, 40-point game.
Hey, but so can Saquon Barkley, and I can get him 2 rounds later.
So, you can get both.
Exactly. You get both.
Can have both.
And that's going to go really well for you, or that's going to go really badly for you.
I mean, they're finishing first place.
I guess Barkley's up to the 207.
Yeah.
So, but still,
either finishing
you can
first
get them both.
or you're finishing in first, or you're pulling your hair out in week 4.
If you ain't first, you're last.
That's right.
That is the full you ain't first, you're last approach, is going CMC and Barkley with your first 2 picks.
I would be so fucking happy, though.
High risk, high reward.
Yeah. I love it.
All right. That's the show. We ended on a good note. Thank you guys for tuning in. Beer Fueled on Twitter, Beer Fueled Podcast on YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. I'm at Beerfield Hop. Dan is at Beerfield30. Ryan is at Ryan Miner _FFB. FFFaceoff.com. Our friendly partners in this ordeal. Really got to get ourselves in that podcast stream as soon as I stop being at work all the time.
Yeah.
And can talk to Anthony. So
work outside.
Yeah. I don't work outside. I just work a lot. So anyway, we'll be back next week to talk about something that we'll probably decide an hour before the show. So thank you. Have a good weekend. Enjoy some preseason football. We'll probably do some key takeaways on that, maybe. I don't know. Let's. You know, it's so close to going a whole episode without screwing up, and then I hit the intro for the outro. So close.
So close.